Hey there, Route 4 students. Welcome. We are about to seriously level up your vocabulary with some keywords from your companion guide. Let's just jump right in, shall we?
All right, first up, we're going to tackle words for the big ideas. I mean, the really big ones. You can think of these as the absolute building blocks you need for, any serious academic chat.
So how do we talk about stuff that isn't, well, physical? Think about it. Ideas like justice or freedom or even a complex scientific theory. You can't hold them in your hand, right? So how do you even begin to talk about them? That's exactly the problem these next few words are designed to solve.
Okay, let's kick things off with a fantastic adjective, conceptual. So if you hear that a project is in its conceptual stage, what does that mean? It means it's still just an idea. It's the blueprint in your head, not the actual building just yet. It's all about that big what-if phase.
And this is where it gets really useful. Check out the word family here. You've got the noun, concept, that's the basic idea. Then you have the verb, to conceptualize. That's the action of coming up with that idea. And using these, you can build a conceptual framework for your essay, which is basically the skeleton of your argument. And over in the art world, you've got conceptual art, which is all about the idea behind the art, way more than the physical thing you see.
All right, next up we have the noun entity. Now, an entity isn't just a thing, it's way more specific. It's something that exists on its own, as a separate, independent unit. It has its own unique identity.
And you can see some great power combos for this one. For example, a big company like Google, that's a legal entity. Your university, it acts as a separate entity. You could even think about a fantasy novel where a magical sword might be its own entity, with its own will. The key idea here, the word you got to remember, is independence.
Okay, let's talk about the noun, discourse. And I want to be clear, this isn't just a casual chat about the weather. Discourse is a much, much bigger deal. It's the whole ongoing conversation around a serious topic. We're talking all the books, all the articles, the debates, everything, all woven together into one giant conversation.
So, here's why this matters to you. When you write an academic paper, you're not just tossing your opinion out there, no way. You are actually contributing to the academic discourse in your field. You're joining a huge conversation, one that's been going on for, well, maybe even centuries.
And that leads us perfectly to our next noun, abstraction. What is an abstraction? Well, it's what happens when we leave the physical, concrete world behind and float up into the world of pure ideas. The idea of love is an abstraction. A math formula is an abstraction. It's all about boiling something down to its core idea and leaving the messy, physical details behind.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. We've been talking about these big, heady ideas. Now let's bring it down to the visual world. We're going to see how some of these words help us talk about and understand what we see, especially when we're looking at art. So, here's a classic question for you. Is art supposed to look real or just beautiful? I mean, people have been arguing about this for centuries, and it's the perfect way to frame our next couple of words. It really gets to the core of what an artist is even trying to do.
Let's start with the adjective figurative. When we say art is figurative, it means it's trying to represent something you'd recognize from the real world. Like a portrait of a person, a painting of a bowl of fruit, a statue of a horse. If you can look at it and say, I know what that is, it's probably figurative art.
And this quote is a perfect example of how to use it. When you hear that her paintings have a figurative style, you instantly know she's not just painting random shapes. Nope, she's painting real, recognizable stuff, just, with her own bold colors and unique flair.
Now what about the adjective decorative? This one's pretty straightforward. If something is decorative, its only job really is to look nice. That's it. Think about the fancy patterns on a vase, or some cool wallpaper. It's not there for a practical reason, it's just there to be easy on the eyes.
So this basically sums it up perfectly. On one side, you've got abstract art, which we talked about. That's all about ideas, feelings, shapes. And on the other side, you've got figurative art, which is all about showing us things from the real world. They're just two totally different ways of making art with two totally different goals.
Okay, enough with the describing words for a minute. Let's get into the action. It's time for the doing words. These are the powerful verbs that actually turn all those concepts and ideas into reality.
So, how do you actually take a thought and make it happen? It's not magic, right? It's a process. And lucky for us, we have some fantastic academic verbs that describe exactly how you take a brilliant idea and turn it into something real. And here's that process, broken down. Step 1, you formulate a strategy. That means you think it through, you develop it, you create your plan really carefully. And then, after you've done that, comes step 2. You execute that strategy. You actually do it. You carry it out. See? It's a simple, logical flow from your mind to the real world. Now, the verb to engage is one of my favorites because it's so versatile. It's like a two-way street. On one hand, you can engage with a book by really getting into it and asking questions. But on the other hand, the book can be written in a way that is designed to engage you, to grab your attention and pull you right in. In this quote right here, it nails that second meaning. Just think about your all-time favorite movie or book. It didn't just throw facts at you, did it? No. It hooked you. It got you involved. It totally engaged you, probably from the very first scene. Okay, so if engage is getting involved, then the verb to immerse takes that to a whole other level. When you're immersed in something, you're not just involved, you are completely surrounded by it, like you're submerged in water. It's total absorption.
And you can see how this plays out in its word family. You can immerse yourself in a new language by, say, moving to another country. Or a really good video game can give you an immersive experience. That's the adjective. It's all about that feeling of being completely and totally in it.
And for our last verb in this section, let's talk about the opposite of revealing something. The verb to conceal means to actively hide something. It's not just forgetting to mention it, it's a deliberate choice. So a character in a story might conceal their true motives, or an organization might try to conceal information from the public. It's all about hiding on purpose.
All right, we're in the home stretch. Let's wrap up with a few really sophisticated words that help us describe those subtle, tricky relationships between things. Think of these as the precision tools in your vocabulary toolkit.
First up is the adjective indistinguishable. If two things are indistinguishable, it means they are so similar you literally cannot tell the difference. Imagine two perfect copies of a famous painting, or maybe identical twins who are so alike you can't tell them apart. They are, for all intents and purposes, the same.
Next, we've got the verb to imply. Oh, this one is so important, especially for your academic work. To imply something is to suggest it without saying it directly. And learning to spot what an author is implying is basically the art of reading between the lines. And here's a classic example from the world of science. See how the data implies a connection? It doesn't prove it. It just gives a really strong hint. It's pointing in a certain direction, but it's not shouting the answer. That's a very careful, very academic way to talk about findings.
So there you have it, a whole new set of words to add to your arsenal. But look, just watching this isn't enough. The only way to make these words your own is to actually start using them. So that's your mission for today. Are you going to talk about the conceptual framework of a movie? Or maybe you'll point out what a news article implies without saying it? Pick one, just one, and give it a shot. Go for it.
Hey there, Route 4 students. Welcome to your vocabulary companion for Unit 2. We're going to dive into some really powerful words and break them down so you can start using them with confidence. Let's get right into it. First up, we've got words that are all about building, shaping, and making things better. You can think of this section as, well, your verbal toolkit. So, let's start with a question. Imagine you've got a project plan or maybe a study schedule. How do you tweak it and tune it to make it the best it can possibly be? There's a perfect word for that. And that word is the verb to optimize. When you optimize something, you're not just making it good. You're making it as effective and efficient as it can be. You know, like when you optimize your study schedule before a big exam to make sure you're hitting all the important topics without wasting a single minute. You're going to hear this one a lot, especially in the professional world. Businesses always want to optimize performance, and engineers are constantly optimizing a process or optimizing a system. It's all about getting to that peak level of efficiency. Okay, next up. What if something is broken, or maybe it's completely gone and you have to piece it back together from clues? Well, then you reconstruct it. Just picture a detective showing up to a crime scene. They use all the little bits of evidence, footprints, clues, witness statements, to reconstruct what happened there. And listen, we don't just reconstruct physical things. You can reconstruct a process to figure out where it went wrong.
A historian can reconstruct the past using old documents. You can even reconstruct the meaning from a really tough piece of text. So we've improved things, we've rebuilt them. But what if your goal isn't just to meet the standard? What if you want to totally smash expectations and go way beyond? For that, you need the verb to surpass. To surpass something means to go beyond it, to be way better than it. A fantastic example is when a student's project is just so incredibly good that it manages to surpass the teacher's highest expectations. It's on a whole other level. And the last word for this section is to instill. Now, this isn't some sudden overnight change. Instilling something is a slow, careful, gradual process. Think about a great coach who spends an entire season working to instill confidence and discipline in their team. It happens little by little, day by day. Okay, let's switch gears. In our next section, we're going to look at some words for comparing our choices and understanding the rules that kind of box us in. Picture this scenario. You're talking about two different options. Let's say studying abroad or getting an internship nearby. You discuss both of them. How do you then refer back to that second option, the internship, without having to say the whole phrase all over again? You use the latter. It's so useful. The former refers to the first thing you mentioned, and the latter refers to the second. So you could just say, between studying abroad and a local internship, I think I'm going to choose the latter. And just like that, everybody knows you mean the internship. It's a fantastic little word for speaking clearly and efficiently. All right, now let's talk rules. Some things you can do and some things you can't. The word we use to describe something that is allowed by the rules is the adjective permissible. It's all about what's considered okay within a certain system. And context here is absolutely everything. For example, in a game of chess, moving a pawn 3 squares forward is just not permissible. The rules don't allow it. But asking your teacher for an extension on a deadline, that's often permissible, as long as you've got a decent reason. It all comes down to the rules of the game. But what happens when your main plan totally fails? What's your backup? What do you turn to? That right there is your recourse. Recourse is a noun, and it's your source of help, your plan B. If your laptop crashes in the middle of an essay, your recourse might be the IT help desk. You'll often hear it in the phrase, without recourse to, which means you have to figure it out all on your own. For our final batch of words, let's focus on how we describe the absolute core nature of things and how we react when we encounter them. Let's kick things off with the adjective inherent. An inherent quality is something that's a natural, essential, permanent part of something else. You can't separate them. For instance, risk is an inherent part of any big adventure. You just can't have one without the other. It's baked right in. And you can use this to point out a really fundamental quality, like making mistakes is inherently human. Some problems are inherently complex, or maybe two ideas are inherently different at their very core. It points to something that is essential and inseparable. Now, what about that feeling? You know the one. When a mystery just grabs hold of you and you have to find out more. Well, that feeling is called being intrigued. It's more than just being interested. It's a powerful kind of curiosity that just pulls you in and makes you want to investigate. And often, the thing that gets us intrigued is a really brilliant piece of prose. Prose is just the word we use for any written text that isn't poetry. So novels, articles, even this explainer. It's all prose. And this famous line from Pride and Prejudice is a perfect example of literary prose that has intrigued readers for centuries. Next up, mimicry. Mimicry is the incredible art of imitation, of copying something really, really closely. And it's a huge survival tool in the natural world. Think about a harmless little hoverfly, which uses mimicry to look almost exactly like a dangerous stinging wasp. That clever copy, its mimicry, is what keeps it from becoming a snack for predators. Okay, hang on. Before we wrap up, let's talk about our really powerful trick for expanding your vocabulary. Word families. When you learn one word, you can often unlock 3 or 4 more just like it. It makes your vocabulary so much more flexible. So let's take mimicry. We know that's the noun. But the verb is to mimic, right? Like when you mimic someone's voice. And the adjective form is mimetic. You might use that to say that a certain style of art has a mimetic or an imitative quality. See? One core idea, 3 different ways to use it. Let's do one more real quick. You probably know the verb to liberate, which means to set something or someone free, while the noun form is liberation, that feeling of total freedom. And the adjective is liberating. You might say that quitting a really stressful job was a liberating experience. See how powerful that is? All right, you have soaked up a ton of new vocabulary today. Now it is time to actually put it to use. I've got one final challenge for you to really make this new knowledge stick. So here it is. Your challenge is to use at least 3 of the words we've gone over today to describe something that has recently intrigued you. Maybe you tried to reconstruct an argument you overheard, or maybe you were intrigued by a process that someone had managed to optimize perfectly. Give it a shot. It's honestly the best way to make these words truly your own. Thanks so much for joining me for this vocabulary deep dive. Keep learning.